All right, well, welcome to Two Dogs Games video log. I'm here with Michael Cooper, who's going to be doing some writing for Destiny's Sword. Michael has written for the Aeon 14 universe, the whole series. We came to him finding his Rika books, which are about a female soldier in power armor, so a little bit of parallel with Destiny's Sword there. So yeah, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about your writing and sort of how you got into that?
Sure. Well, I mean, I've been writing science fiction books now for I published my first one in 2012. And I put out a couple between then and 2016, and I started to sell a lot at that point. So I started writing more books and quit my day job. And in the last couple of years, I've brought the Aeon 14 universe up to 80 books, or will be 80 books on May 9th.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to find Destiny's Sword?
Well, actually, Ken found me. He read Rika. And like you said, Rika is in the book Rika Outcast, which is the one back there. She's a mechanized, she's a cyborg, and she was cyborgized against her will. And I wanted to tell the story of a soldier who had these things done to them by her own country to win a war, and then tell it more about what it was for her to have it be like that. Because so often when you read stories about soldiers, who have cyborg implants, whatnot, they're just these big meaty monsters who love the fact that their arms are a chain gun and mowing everybody down all the time.
Sure.
And I thought, that's probably not really the case. People probably don't actually really want to have that. And one of the things I highlight as well is the fact that she's at the end, after the war, her side lost, but she never got turned back into a human again. And now she's like deep in debt trying to keep her body functioning. Because she's got all these components and whatnot, and she's like, the only thing she can do is work a loading dock, which they like because she's strong, but it's not really what she wants for her life, obviously.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really drew us to your writing, was the way you consider the characters' feelings and emotions, not just the glorification of the combat itself.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about why that's important to you as a writer.
Well, I've read a lot of science fiction, and I've played in a lot of science fiction games, and one of the things, and actually even when I watch a lot of movies, one of the things that started to really bother me after a while is the amount of collateral damage that happens in these shows. You got like some guy, he's the good guy, he's trying to get away from the bad guys, and he's driving down the highway at 150 miles an hour, causing accidents everywhere. It's like, you've just killed 7 people so that you don't die. Why is your life worth more than these innocent bystanders? Like it gets ridiculous at some points. I mean, they make it look like no one died, but you're like, that car flipped 7 times. I'm pretty sure that the family inside of that car is dead now. And these main characters never had that on their conscience either. And I felt like that was just really weak storytelling. And and what's one of the main things I endeavor to do in Aeon 14 is the characters care about whether or not they cause civilian casualties when they fight.
Yeah. And
they even try sometimes to use non-lethal methods whenever possible against their enemies.
Right.
I mean, obviously that's not something, if you're really in combat, it's you or them. You're not gonna take it easy on the enemy when they're trying to kill you. But sometimes you do almost. Like I've talked to some soldiers, like sometimes like they wish, like, I wish that there was a way where I didn't have to like shoot center mass all the time. It could be more accurate and not have to. But when it's you or them, that's what you have to do. So
sure.
I put some of those sort of decisions in there where they're like, can we use some sort of concussive blast, or could we like gas them or something like that and not have to go and kill everybody? Because it starts to weigh on you after a while. Obviously,
for sure.
know.
Okay.
So I wanted to highlight that and sort of tell different types of science fiction stories that were more about the people and how they lived with what they were doing.
Awesome. And what are some of the challenges of writing for a video game? What do we see in Destiny's Sword that's different from the way you write your books?
Well, obviously when you're writing a book, you sort of get to soak yourself into the words. And that's something that's going to be a little bit different for me. Is when I'm writing, I put myself in the characters' shoes, and I think about where they're standing and what they're looking at and what's around them, and I can take a page or two to describe that.
Sure.
And obviously when we're going to be writing dialogue and interactions in the video game, one, I don't necessarily have to do that because there's going to be art going along with it, so people are going to see the setting. And then the other aspect is that there's not, no one wants to sit there and read 3 or 4 pages, of text before they start a mission. Like, I wouldn't want to do that either, but I'm playing a video game.
Sure.
So
get into the action.
It's going to be a lot more of drilling it down and trying to make sure that the words that are there have the maximum impact,
right.
To convey exactly what we need the player to know, and then get them into playing.
And I guess with our game being, a conflict between 2 factions, trying to write the story from each side's point of view will be a bit of a challenge too.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because there's going to be all the different the episodes with all the different missions in them, and they're going to have to be differentiated enough that you're it's going to be interesting to play both sides. You could replay as the other side if you wanted to. and that you don't just feel like, oh, well, the opposing side is quite literally the exact same missions, just with like some different word splices. You want to make it fun and interesting. So
yeah,
and then there's gonna be parts where these two factions are gonna go head to head. So it's gonna be really exciting actually to tell both sides of the story.
Sure.
And then you can see how the enemy felt about what you were doing to them.
Yes.
If you were to go replay. So I think that's going to be actually a really exciting area to tap into.
It's really neat because we get to explore the difference perspective makes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That we're so sure that our story is like this, but then we see it from the other side and it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't quite as we thought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've been in Europe a number of times, and I've talked with folks who were on the other side of World War II or other side of other conflicts and whatnot. And it's very interesting how the story is not entirely different, but just different enough that you're kind of like, wow, that's some interesting perspective. And even having traveled a lot and having lived in both the United States and Canada, you actually start to recognize your own country's propaganda.
Yes.
And you don't see that while you live there. But then when you leave, you're like, wow, this country does the same thing, but they twist it a little bit to be a slightly different message. And you realize both of these things were actually propaganda. Maybe not like deliberate, like
sure.
serious propaganda, but they are trying to influence the way you think. And so we're going to get to show that in the game. We're going to, because both of these sides are going to think that they're the good guys.
Yep.
Or that they're at least doing the right thing for the right reasons. And maybe they have to make some hard choices periodically, but for sure. But they're still their goals are laudable. Therefore, they're willing to take certain roads to get there.
Awesome. And so we're going to be starting our Kickstarter in, I guess, a couple months at the end of May now. And so we're going to try and flex your muscles. Yeah, there you go. It's getting close. And so you're going to start flexing your muscles and hopefully get a couple of samples up there for the Kickstarter. So that'll be really exciting to sort of see that coming together. Yeah,
I actually started that just this morning. So after we're done this, I'm going to show Ken what I wrote, and then we'll see if if he's like, this was a terrible idea or
maybe
not.
I shouldn't have announced that. Maybe it might be in a couple of months now. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So so follow along, follow us on social media and follow the Kickstarter campaign and let's see what Michael's going to bring to the table because it's going to be pretty exciting.
Absolutely. It's going to be a blast.
All right. Well, thanks. We'll see you again next time.